We've heard a lot about Poland and its beautiful, partly untouched landscapes. But we'd never been to this area before. And so, in June 2025, we set off in our motorhome to explore the north and northeast of Poland. Tonight we spent the night at a forest campsite on the Vistula Spit headland. The site is not far from the beach and the Baltic Sea. Unfortunately, the weather is still not conducive to lingering on the fine-grained white sand or even swimming in the sea. The beach here is deserted for miles, actually an idyllic place. Just yesterday, I spoke with our motorhome neighbors, a nature-loving couple who plan to stay here for 3 weeks, without electricity and little fresh water. He explained the border situation to me at the nearby Russian border. It's still 7.5 kilometers to the border, but you can reach it by bike through the forest. We actually wanted to take the boat to Freudenberg on the other side of the lagoon today, but it's just too cold. So we head back to the mainland along the narrow spit. We pass a number of souvenir stalls in the main town. And of course, there's another fun fair with a Ferris wheel. We spontaneously decide to use the extra time today to visit Gdansk after all. We didn't really want to, as we already visited Gdansk extensively years ago. But the Hanseatic city of Gdansk, with its historic buildings, attracts us with its unique charm. We reach the parking space at the marina on the Vistula River. The partially rusted ship cranes of the Gdansk harbor are behind us. We cycle 2 kilometers to the old town. The so-called Little Mill lies on a stream in front of St. Catherine's Church. The imposing building on the so-called Bread Bridge houses the former Great Mill. Opposite is the unfortunately closed former market hall. Now it's time for us to park our bikes and lock them securely, because we're continuing on foot. From afar, we can see the imposing so-called Great Armory, dating from 1600. The style of the building reminds me of Flemish monumental buildings. We turn onto Puna Street toward the Vistula River. The beauty and charm of this promenade are confirmed by the glamorous end of the street. Along the street, we admire various historic townhouses that were once occupied by famous Gdansk citizens. Right at the beginning, at Puna Street 1, we can admire, for example, a facade with illustrated depictions of love, wisdom, justice, and devotion. A little further on, at number 8, the Waddell printing house, where the first Polish alphabet was created, was located until 1945. A little further on, we come across St. Mary's Basilica, the most important Gothic brick church in the Baltic region. Numerous sculptures, murals, and panel paintings adorn the church. On the northwest crossing pillar hangs the Ten Commandments tablet, a work created around 1480. On a pillar on the north side is the richly decorated pulpit from 1680. The paintings on the stair railing depict scenes of Christ and Paul as teachers. The astronomical clock is a special work for a church. Hans Düringer's calendar consists of a planetarium and a puppet theater on top. The clock has been fully functional again since 1987, but still largely retains its original mechanism. The Last Judgment is a triptych by Hans Memling. The subject is taken from the Book of Revelation. The oldest parts of the original large organ date back to 1586. We leave the basilica and follow the original street. now called Broadbankenstrasse, which eventually leads to the Gothic Broadbanken Gate at the Metla River. On the opposite side of the river, exclusive residential buildings have been built in recent years, modeled on the typical Hanseatic gabled style. In the distance, we can already see the crane gate on the left bank. We are now standing on the Metla Bridge and look back at another gate, the so-called Green Gate. We also briefly walk into the pedestrian zone behind it. Barriers have already been erected here to ensure that the flow of tourists can be directed unhindered. However, we turn around and follow the course of the Metla River. The next gate we pass through is the so-called Frauenter, Women's Gate. Behind it lies a narrow alley where jewelry, especially amber products, are sold. We already saw that a modern swing bridge has been built over the Metla River in recent years. Every half hour it is closed to pedestrians and then reopened. From the other side, I have another wonderful view of the Frauenter, Women's Gate, and the Kranter, Crane Gate. The gate, built of wood and brick, is Gdansk's most famous landmark. The first twin-towered predecessor was built in 1363. The promenade along the Metla River is almost exclusively reserved for tourists. On the ground and first floors of the gabled houses, one restaurant and cafe sits next to the next. Tourists are welcome. A school class with luggage is gathering in the passageway of the Kranter. Looking back across the Metla River, you can see three large warehouses on the other side of the river. This stretch of river also marks the beginning of the piers for the arriving and departing excursion boats, which bring tourists to Westerplatte, the place where Germany declared war on Poland on September 1, 1939. And finally, a must-see is a fun fair with the Ferris wheel. In summary, the Vistula Spit is certainly a popular tourist destination in the summer when the weather is nice. However, the souvenir shops and carousels aren't necessarily our favorite. The unplanned visit to the Hanseatic city of Gdansk was, after all, a highlight of our trip. The flow of tourists was still limited, and we were able to thoroughly enjoy the beauty of this unique city. Tomorrow we'll continue north to the Help Peninsula.